Welcome to the Weather Insights Podcast. I'm meteorologist Scott Pitney along with meteorologist Jeff Linder. We're recording this on Saturday morning about 7:33 Central Time with the latest on Beryl. Beryl now a very disorganized tropical storm with 60-mile-an-hour winds, still moving west-northwest. Forward speed slowed down a little bit right now at 12 miles per hour. Still forecasted to be a tropical storm through Sunday, then making landfall sometime around Monday midday as a Category 1 hurricane with winds around 90 miles per hour. The current track shows Beryl making landfall somewhere around the Sargent, Port Lavaca area, which of course puts Houston Metro on the strong convective side of the storm currently. Of course, we need to keep monitoring Beryl for possible rapid intensification, Jeff.
Yeah, so looking at the satellite this morning, we can see that it's it's a pretty disorganized
It's a
system. So
mess. Yeah.
yeah, this is actually the low level circulation actually showing up very nicely on the infrared,
Yeah.
and you can see all of the big thunderstorms well off to the north. We have seen this recent eruption of thunderstorms here, kind of in the northwestern side of the circulation. But what's happening is we have an upper level low here over the southwest Gulf of Mexico that's producing about 20 knots or so of southerly wind shear. So you can see that's why everything's kind of blowing off here to the north, the northwest. And at the same time, it is wrapping in dry air from the south. So, you would expect down here there would be a lot of moisture. But in this case, there's actually quite a bit of dry air here in the southern Gulf of Mexico that's kind of wrapping into this. And so, based on this, we're not anticipating a lot of intensification today. Maybe as it gets up toward the Texas coast tomorrow and finds a little bit better wind shear conditions and more favorability, we could see some more steady, possibly some quicker strengthening. But I think we potentially here are seeing some good news with respect for the upper limit here of this. Just with the look this morning, possibly Category 1, 80, 90 mile an hour hurricane, maybe the upper limit we're potentially facing here on the Texas coast instead of, yesterday we were a little bit more worried it could be a little bit stronger, but maybe not so much the case today. The good news also overnight is we have not seen any additional track shifts. We had, pretty significant track shifts yesterday
Yeah.
from deep South Texas up towards the coastal bend and Matagorda Bay area. This has held pretty well overnight. We've had one guidance run overnight come in. We're really waiting on the morning guidance runs to come in this morning to see if this continues to hold. And if so, our confidence will, I guess, start to increase more that this is going to be a landfall around Matagorda Bay, that between the Port O'Connor and Palacios area. And so that would be the more significant impacts in that area. And you can see here on the consensus side of the track, there hasn't been a lot of change here in the last 12 hours or so. So these were the adjustments yesterday up from deep South Texas and the mid and the Kingsville area up towards the western side of Matagorda Bay. If anything, the consensus has shifted maybe just a tad to the left this morning, but we're kind of splitting hairs here, anywhere between say Seadrift, Calhoun County, Port O'Connor, and Palacios, Matagorda County, on the mid Texas coast around Matagorda Bay is kind of where we're starting to zero in now. And I'll just remind everybody that at this time frame, we can still have track changes of about 80 miles or so. So we're not anticipating at this point any additional big swings. But could the track shift a little bit to the right or a little bit to the left? Yes. And we continue to have this kind of orientation here of the track as it comes up to the coast. Even small adjustments in the track will make somewhat of a difference along the coast just because of how Beryl is turning as it comes in, and also the orientation of the coastline. So we'll talk now into the impacts portion of this, and Scott could talk a little bit about some of the tropical storm force winds we're anticipating.
Yeah. So just to remind everybody what the colors mean, in the green shaded areas are around 5 to 20% chance that that area will see tropical storm force winds. And then as you go up the color scale, those chances get into 70 to 90% chance range with the reds and purples. So you can see the tropical storm force winds and the chances um, as Beryl moves closer to the Texas coastline. Monday 8 a.m., kind of starting from latest working backwards. Monday 8 a.m., you can see anywhere from just southwest there of Freeport all the way down to Corpus Christi. They are in, that orange shaded area, about 50 to 60% chance of tropical storm force winds. And then Sunday at 8 o'clock, those chances pretty high just offshore. So you can see really in that Sunday evening to Monday morning time frame, Jeff, anywhere from just southwest of Houston all the way to Corpus, a pretty decent chance of seeing those tropical storm force winds.
Yeah, and well, we do have the coastal warnings up now. So we have a hurricane
Right.
watch from San Luis Pass to the Rio Grande. That southern part of the watch is probably a little bit overdone at the moment. And then the storm surge watch from High Island down to the same place. And we'll probably see later today hurricane warnings issued, and then also some inland warnings and watches. So, yeah, this is going to be a coastal thing around Matagorda Bay, Calhoun County, maybe up towards Victoria, and then spreading inland during the day Monday. So Wharton County, Colorado, Columbus, up towards Austin and Sealy, Austin County and Sealy. Some gusty winds. I don't know if we'll see sustained hurricane conditions that far inland, but certainly some gusty winds and the squalls. And we'll just see how far east some of this gets, especially on the upper Texas coast. It's around that right side. You could get some 40, 50-mile-an-hour winds, Brazoria County, Galveston Island, especially in the squalls that will be coming in off the Gulf of Mexico.
And there are some voluntary evacuations right now underway for Calhoun County. You mentioned Calhoun County, Jeff, in that area, but the storm surge is very much going to be a part of the evacuation plan.
Yeah, so we have voluntary for low-lying coastal areas of Calhoun County and Jackson County, and then in Matagorda County, voluntary for Sargent, Matagorda, and the waterfront in the city of Palacios. So, this is roughly, up here on the upper Texas coast, this is about what we saw with Alberto back in June,
Yeah.
maybe a little bit higher. And then down here on the mid Texas coast, Matagorda Bay, up towards Matagorda County, Sargent, that area. This is a 1 to 2 feet higher than what we experienced with Alberto. So there is going to be some inundation. There is going to be coastal flooding. This is not a big, significant hurricane with disastrous storm surge, but there will be coastal issues as we get into Monday and Sunday, late Sunday into Monday, especially, and even Monday night. And even up here in the Galveston Bay, 2 to 4 feet, very similar to what we had with Alberto back in June. So we'll continue to watch those coastal impacts just to make sure we don't increase that any in certain areas of the coast as we move forward.
Yeah, the rain forecast has not changed a whole lot since late yesterday. Still expecting, of course, heavy rain right around where Beryl's expected to make landfall, well up into northeast Texas. And you can just kind of look at this rain pattern, Jeff, and also determine kind of where the path that center of Beryl will go after it makes landfall, taking quite a bit of rain up into northeast Texas, northwestern Louisiana, and into Arkansas, as you would expect with a tropical system.
Yeah, the good news is these totals haven't changed a whole lot, so
Right.
we're kind of in that 5 to 10 inch range along the center track and maybe off to the east a little bit here. There'll probably be a pretty sharp gradient on the west side of this, so I don't know if we'll see much rain over here towards Austin, San Antonio, maybe even Corpus. But it looks like there could be decent rains here. This potentially seeing how it falls, when it falls, how quickly it falls. We're obviously dealing with a tropical air mass, so you can get some pretty heavy rainfall rates. This could lead to some urban flash flooding in some of the urban areas. Definitely going to have to watch the creeks and the bayous, and eventually the rivers. This is going to impact the Brazos, the San Bernard, the Tres Palacios, the Trinity, the San Jacinto basins, and so we'll have to see what kind of river responses we get as this not only makes landfall moves inland, but moves, like you said, up here into north central northeast central Texas over here towards the Huntsville and up towards eventually the Longview area. So unfortunately, that water is going to come down the rivers
Yeah.
at some point as we get into later next week. And then lastly, just to throw this out there, we do have a severe weather threat with a landfalling tropical system, especially on that eastern right front quadrant. The growing concern for some tornadoes as we get into Sunday evening, Sunday night, and Monday. So this is kind of the area here shaded in the dark green, and getting into Monday here in the yellow shading, where we could have some of those squalls that produce some of the tropical type tornadoes we see. These are generally weak tornadoes, but they can still do damage, and people just need to be aware of that as we get into Monday.
Yeah, they come up very quickly. They're very hard to detect, but we do see them in tropical systems. So there is an increasing risk of damaging hurricane force winds and life-threatening storm surge along portions of the northeastern Mexican and Texas coastline from Sunday into Monday from the effects of tropical storm Beryl. Flash flooding and urban flooding are definitely possible, which Jeff just talked about, for the Texas Gulf Coast and East Texas beginning late Sunday through midweek. And as Jeff mentioned too, especially with those rivers, those folks were just inundated in May with other flood concerns along those rivers in East Texas. And now all that rain's got to come back down. So hopefully that will not be too bad on those folks. And then, of course, we have the rip current risk that's really been around since yesterday. Best to just stay out of the water right now. Those swells are going to start coming in, and that threat for dangerous rip currents is there now and will stay there. And it's very hard to detect a rip current. Of course, no human being can swim in a rip current. Jeff, thank you very much. Thank you, everyone, for watching. We'll have another update this afternoon. And if there's any updates that need quick attention, we'll, of course, put those out there. But for right now, we'll plan on another podcast this afternoon. Of course, you can click on our Weather Insights YouTube channel, subscribe, and share with friends and family so they can stay up to date on the latest on what's going on in the tropics. And join us for the next Weather Insights podcast.